Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our first webinar of 2016, Apptimized, the Future of Application Packaging. My name is Simon May, and I am the UK Country Manager here at Revacom. Before we get into the meat of this webinar, which is really the demo of our Apptimized product, I'd just like to spend a few moments running through Revacom, who we are and what we do, putting Apptimized in some kind of context, and then talking a little bit more about continuous deployment, which we believe is the way that organisations need to be thinking about their applications estate. Before I hand over to my colleague, Matthias Baumann, the CTO and co-founder of Revacom, we'll then run through a demo of the product itself, and hopefully everything I've said will then fall into place. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session where you are welcome to fire any questions you like at us, assuming that we have the time. Revacom. Who are we? We are an applications packaging specialist. Founded in Potsdam, Germany, where we're still headquartered in 2003. We have operations in Germany, the UK, Switzerland, Poland, Vietnam, Ukraine, and Denmark. Over our history, we have supported some 250 customers, from large projects to BAU services. Our mission, and we make no apologies for its boldness, is to become the global leader in application packaging. How do we expect to do this? By following our strategy of simplifying the process, reducing the cost, and therefore enabling continuous deployment, which I will talk about in a little bit more detail later on. So why do we believe this is necessary? When we look back at the application packaging industry and how it's developed over the past 10 years or so, we believe that it is far too complex, far too slow, and far too expensive. So we believe that with Apptimized, we have removed the complexity, the speed issues, and much of the cost. How have we done this? We have done this by creating a cloud-based portal which offers auto-discovery and an app update model to make things for the customer incredibly simple. We've put in place processes, which means we can turn on applications within minutes, as opposed to the days, weeks, or months that they can take today, with 24/7 availability, which means that we removed the speed barrier, made everything faster, and we fixed the cost. We fixed the cost at a very low rate, regardless of complexity, at a pay-as-you-go model, so people only pay for what they need. There's no need for expensive resource or infrastructure, making it far cheaper. So by doing this, we believe that continuous deployment becomes a reality. Instead of spend being driven by OS upgrades, such as the move from Windows 7 to 8 or 8 to 10, it's driven by business needs. It's driven by when a business needs a new application. We believe that by doing this, application estates are not left to stagnate between migrations as they are today, and applications are kept continually updated. And what this means is that as you need to move your estate from one operating system to another, you are no longer reliant on there being a huge estate readiness program trying to discover what has happened in your estate since the last time you did an estate readiness program. Your application estate is always ready. And what this means is your transformation programs no longer get held up by application readiness. And what this means in turn is that you don't have security issues as a result of there being unpatched or obsolete software in your estate. And therefore you have improved compliance. Every application in your estate is the latest version, it's under support, and it's managed. So what benefits will this bring to organisations? Well, it removes cost spikes, enhances security, improves compliance, prepares you for the next OS now, improves end user experience, and enables supported software, while allowing enterprises to leverage functionality. If I look at each one of these in a little bit more detail, what we traditionally see is application packaging spend is very cyclical. Every time Microsoft issue a new operating system which forces everybody to relook at their estate and package what they have to, so they spend a lot of money. What we believe is that by implementing the Apptimized model and implementing continuous deployment, that cost spike profile becomes a line that gradually gets lower and lower as the spend on application packaging gets less and less. We believe that too many corporations have too much obsolete, out-of-date, unpatched software in their estate with their inherent security vulnerabilities. By maintaining the most recent versions of software, they have a more secure estate. By removing the barrier to packaging, that is the cost, the speed, and the complexity, corporations can package their applications as and when required, and not only as and when a migration program dictates that they must. This will lead to a far more secure estate. And as a result of this, only the latest version of any software needs to be available. Now, if anybody out there is talking about implementing an app store or uses a smartphone today, they will understand that having the latest version of software is critical to the end user experience and critical to the ability to maintain that estate in a way which allows you to understand what impact change will have to your various users. By implementing Apptimized and continuous deployment, you can start preparing for your next operating system upgrade now. There's no need to wait. You can simply integrate the latest build into your current BAU processes and start preparing now, without any need to wait for a migration program. When your migration program comes around, you will have a host of applications already ready. The end user experience today when it comes to packaged applications and the need of applications to work on the desktop estate is very, very clunky. We believe that by implementing continuous deployment, you will improve the end user experience by having a better control of your apps estate and able to keep a much better eye on how your end users interact with their applications and creating a much better experience for them. When we go into organizations and look at their software estate, we are always staggered by how much unsupported software is in the estate. Generally, we find this is down to version controls. Procurement will be procuring version X, but deploying version Y. The license of version X doesn't support version Y, so you're effectively wasting money on version X, and version Y is an unsupported software in the estate with all the vulnerabilities and issues that brings. By implementing continuous deployment, you no longer have this issue. And possibly most criminally of all, what corporations do today is buy the latest version of a software, and it's been upgraded for a reason, because it has added functionality or enhanced capabilities, but they're not leveraging that functionality because they're still deploying an older version of the software, because the business has decided that packaging it is not worthwhile. By removing the barrier to packaging, by reducing the cost and lowering the complexity, you can now make sure that you are using the latest and greatest software with the latest and greatest functionality in your business at all times. And the biggest desktop agenda item in many organizations today is Windows 10. How best do you make sure that you're ready to go to Windows 10 and you are able to do it in a way which is cost effective and without too much disruption? If the traditional model is followed, it will be left as late as possible, and there'll be a huge amount of expense trying to discover which applications require upgrading, which require remediation, and then more expense in packaging them. Our view is by implementing Apptimized today with continuous deployment, that challenge is met. With Apptimized Enterprise, you can introduce Windows 10 as an option now. No need to wait. I'd now like to hand over to my colleague, Matthias Baumann, who will carry out the demonstration of the toolset, and hopefully all the things I've just been talking about will make much more sense, and you'll be able to see how the Apptimized toolset allows you to deliver continuous deployment, and by delivering continuous deployment, you can deliver all the benefits to your estate that I've talked about. Thank you for your time, and I'll be back later for a recap.
Hi, this is Matthias of Revacom. I will show you Apptimized now. You can see the Apptimized dashboard, and on the left-hand side in the black area there are projects. Projects contain multiple applications that all need to be processed along the same workflow and that have the same requirements in terms of their packaging standards or guidelines. You can see this user that I'm using to show the demo has two projects. One is called Demo Complete with a number of menu items, whereas in that project the user just have two icons, which means he has less permissions than in these projects. That said, we have an extensive permissioning scheme which you can use to control access to different modules of a workflow and also to give users the rights to perform certain actions in the workflow, whereas in a more complex delivery scenario you might not give every user of a project the same permissions. So for that purpose we have built an extensive permissioning scheme. When you create a new project, you have to select the workflow preset that should provide the underlying workflow. We have basically presets that cover all possible ways of dealing with an application to be pushed through such a process. The workflow that I have just shown you is the complete one that contains all modules. Everything starts with an upload, so software media from the vendor is being uploaded in order to start the process. In stage 2, this application is being discovered, which means the requirements are being documented in form of screenshots that are put into a document, which then can be further processed either by a manual packaging function or also by field service, or you can still be stored for your reference how an application was installed. Stage number 3 and 4 are the automated packaging stages. In stage 3 packaging, MSI packages are being produced based upon the uploaded raw software and the user's input. And the sequencing, actually the same is done, but instead of an MSI, an AppV is being produced. And in case you have both, the AppV is completely automatically being built based upon the MSI package that has been built in step number 3. Step number 5, Result QA, is the quality assurance step in which you can test the results of the previous steps. So you can install your packages and see if they install silently and also if they run. Stage number 6 is optional. You can push any packages through a manual packaging function if you want, either to deal with any exceptions or applications that don't automate, or you can also push all your requests through the factory just to make sure that everything is QA'd a second time manually if you want. Stage number 7 is the download section where you can download all the results that have been produced along the way. Stage number 8 concludes the process. Updates means any applications that we monitor for updates, and you upload an application that is in our database, you will receive automated notifications about new versions being released by the vendor, and in the majority of the cases you can also access those new versions right away through your Apptimized account and can package the applications instantly without needing to go back to the vendor and obtain the media. Of course, if you have different requirements, you can also create your tailor-made workflows, say a workflow that contains only the automated packaging piece, MSI and AppV packaging. You can also use Apptimize as a pure request platform, so your users use the tool as a request tool to order packages with a factory in a manual packaging scenario. You can also use it as a discovery portal only in order to create installation instructions that are then processed outside of Apptimized. You can also use it for testing existing packages and applications on a new build or new operating system versions. For instance, if you're looking to migrate to Windows 10 but you don't have your own build yet, want to understand how big your risk is in terms of your existing packages or applications, you can simply upload your packages and applications to Apptimized, run it against vanilla Windows 10 build, and see if there are any issues with the installation and the operation of these applications. Okay, back to my project, the demo complete project, which has all the elements in it that Apptimized provides. Again, everything starts with an upload of an application, followed by discovery, so that's the documentation of an installation and the configuration of the software, followed by automated packaging into MSI format and AppV, result QA, testing of the output of the automated packaging with a factory packaging step that helps to review anything that has been built by the machine, and then the download section followed by the updates monitoring. You can also see your personal work basket and the project basket, so every application that has been uploaded to your project but which is not personally assigned to you. I will add an application now, which is quite simple. You upload your vendor media, which can be either in an MSI format or anything that is not an MSI, what we call a legacy setup. You can also add extra files. In that case, I have a PowerShell script that I will copy into the program directory. And also optionally, you can provide an existing installation document, a discovery document, just in case for some applications you might have those already, then you don't need to do discovery and can skip discovery if you want. So continuing with the process, we read the metadata of the provided vendor media, provide some normalization help in order to keep your metadata clean and consistent, so everything that belongs to the same vendor or the same group of software also comes up as the as the same software basically. Now stage 2, because I've uploaded an existing installation document, I could skip discovery and skip right to packaging. However, I want to do discovery to show you how that works. For every step, you have to select the operating system platform on which you want to perform the activity. In the majority of the cases, that will be exactly one operating system, the one that you are delivering into. But in some cases, there will be two, for instance, a desktop and a terminal server platform, or your current BAU platform, Windows 7, and a new platform, Windows 10, which you will be rolling out soon and which you want to process on the applications for in parallel. In that case, for that project, only one platform is enabled, Windows 7, and I'll proceed with my discovery. As you can see, it is quite simple to start with the discovery. You see the virtual machine has been provisioned and the installation has already been kicked off. The user doesn't need to know much actually to use it because the system is taking care of most of the activities. So all the user needs to do is now perform a manual installation, just as if he would install it on his local test machine, which in many cases users don't have access to. That's why Apptimized provides this functionality out of the box and accessible through any web browser. The actual installation is being performed. Now finished. And in order to show you some advanced customization of the application, I'll go to the programs folder and I will copy the extra PowerShell script that I uploaded into the program folder. It doesn't do anything here, it's just to show you an example to what degree you can also do customizations of applications in your in Apptimized, creating a screenshot of that. We'll also register a few extra file extensions which are not associated with the program by default. I will also show some UI customizations that are deemed to be important. Okay, that's it. My discovery is finished. What the user who's doing the discovery can do now is clean up the created screenshots a bit and add any text if that is deemed to be necessary, but in most cases the pictures speak for themselves. So I'm removing a few screenshots which are not needed because they are sort of redundant, and you can also add some extra text if you want. some guidelines, for instance, to the packagers. Now stage number 3, automated packaging, again on Windows 7. Starting the process by clicking the next step button. And as I said in the beginning, you can assign different users or different teams, groups of users to each individual step. For instance, you can let your end users do discovery if there are the subject matter experts to understand how an application is functioning technically in an environment, whereas other steps are being executed by an internal or external IT function. So what you can see here is exactly the same as we saw in the discovery, with some difference. We're creating right now the package. So based upon the user's input, a package has now been created. And as you can see, MSI transformation means we have uploaded a vendor MSI, which is now being transformed by means of an MST, and all the input that has been entered during the installation phase, which I could call phase 1, is now being captured by the system, and I can now edit a few properties that have been captured during that phase 1. The properties with the red background, those are the ones that have been defined as the so-called packaging guidelines for that project. Stuff like the user context, logging, reboot behavior, restart manager behavior, all have been defined during a mobilization phase. So once all the properties or all the settings need to be put into Apptimized, so they can get applied to all the packages that are being produced in a project. So the normal user doesn't need to understand actually what is ARP system component for. That is something that an engineer inputs once, and then it gets applied to all the packages which are being made in a project. We provide templates, best practice templates for these settings, so in case you don't really you don't understand what actually the properties are for, we provide a best practice template that covers 95% of all cases. The green area shows the properties that have been captured during my packaging activity. So while I was installing the software, these properties have been captured, and for the ones technically interested, we're not actually performing an installation, we're simulating them by emulating dialogues, controls, buttons. So we get a really clean result, so everything that has been captured really belongs to into the package and is not system noise. The Ember stuff, they are properties that exist in the MSI package, and the user could now go and edit a few of those. In the shortcuts editor, the user can edit shortcuts, and you can see here one has been already excluded automatically. So that's again a setting that has been defined during the mobilization, that everything that contains a help text in the shortcut name is excluded automatically. That's why also the user cannot override that, because that's a mandatory setting that comes from the packaging standards. So now what we are doing right now is we're starting the phase 2 of the auto packaging. In phase 2, the application is being installed. The package that we have created based upon the vendor MSI, as you can see here, and the transform file with all the things that have been captured during the previous stages. This is being installed in an unattended mode, and once this is done, the user can perform any post-installation configuration, which means starting the application, doing some tweaks inside the application by accessing the app settings or copying files across, importing registry keys, these kind of things. In order to capture these changes, we create snapshots. So we can compare the pre and post snapshots, create a delta, and the delta is basically then the software package. I'll pause the video for a second until the first snapshot is being done, and I'll show you then the actual post configuration of the application. Be right back. Okay, so the package has been installed. I want to do the post installation configuration changes now. So first thing I do is I start the application which has been installed by my package. I'll go into the options, I register the extensions, and I change the two other settings in the application so we see that now the grid lines are there. And one more thing I want to do is I go into the files that are on the desktop, and I will copy this PowerShell script into the application folder. And you can see already that's my vendor MSI that I uploaded. That's my MST that contains the installation settings, along with an install and uninstall CMD, which contain the commands in order to deploy those packages silently, which can be either called directly by a software distribution system, or they can be imported into the system as the command lines. Okay, so I made a copy of my PowerShell script, and I'll copy this across into the applications program folder, just yeah, as per my instructions. That's it, and I'll finish the post installation configuration by creating the second snapshot, which will be compared against the first one, and any delta is being turned into the post configuration package. I'll pause the video again for a few seconds until the process is complete, and we'll be back shortly. The second snapshot has been finished. It's building the MSI package now and transferring it from the VM to the Apptimized front end. The process is now complete, and I'm continuing to the next step. The next step is the sequencing. So an AppV is being created based upon the MSI package that has been created in the previous step. As I said before, we separate the installation from the configuration, just in case you want to have a clean install without the configuration. But what I will do in this example is I will sequence both into an AppV, again on the Windows 7 platform. I start the process, and the sequencing is happening in an unattended mode, so you will not see anything here until the process is finished. That's why I'll pause the video again. Okay, sequencing has been finished. I'm proceeding to the next step, which is testing the result. Again, I have to select on which platform the test is to be conducted, and which of the packages I want to test. I want to use the one that combines the installation of the binaries and the post-installation configuration with the settings I implemented after the main installation. So everything happens again automatically without the user needing to interact with the machine. I'm pausing the video quickly until the installation is finished. Okay, so the package is installed now. Right, shortcut is there. Starting the application, you see the grid lines, the setting that I made before. You see the extensions are being registered, and the checkboxes have been marked accordingly, so all is there. Application has been installed silently, all the settings have been applied. The last thing that I want to check is whether the PowerShell script has come across. Yeah, there is the file. So all good. So my entire software plus the customization has been successfully applied. I'll log the result and finish the QA. Now, as an optional step, there is factory packaging. Factory packaging creates a request in remote workflow systems of packaging factories. So that could be any tools on the market. So in our case, that is a Jira, which our packaging factory is using, and it's now quite simple to communicate with the factory by Apptimized users, and they can also get the requests back from the packaging factory. This is how it looks. That's our Jira-based external workflow tool. You can also connect to your own workflow tools. The advantage of that is the factory doesn't need to change its processes or tool sets. They simply get their requests as they're used to. You can see here source files, discovery document, the uploaded one, and the one that has been automatically created can be directly accessed from here. So packages can access the source right away and package the applications manually if that is the required use case. You can see the comment that has been added by the Apptimized user. The packaging factory can reply back. And the user received a notification via email that there's a new comment, and that's how the factory and the users can communicate in case there are any questions or issues with the packaging request. Also, uploading the result works with such a link, and the advantage is that the factory staff doesn't even need an Apptimized account, so they use Apptimized via these magic links in here. So any packager can upload and download stuff from Apptimized without an own user account. The result from the factory has been uploaded to Apptimized. It's accessible at this stage, and once this is done, we can proceed to the download step, which contains all the deliverables that have been created along the way. First of all, of course, the installation source that contains everything that has been uploaded to Apptimized as the packaging request. The uploaded installation document, the one that we have captured using the discovery feature in Apptimized. The installation package, the MSI that is being packaged along with the MST, and the combined MSI MST for the from the vendor MSI plus the configuration, and a separate MSI package that contains the customization. Also, the package from the packaging factory has been attached to the request, which can be downloaded right away by the Apptimized user. As a last step, every application can be checked against updates. We can see here from that dialog that the version that I just packaged is rather old, and there are 3 newer versions already available. And if the user wants so, he can access these new versions directly from Apptimized. The media is already there, and the processing can start just in the same way as it was done with my old version 9.2. That's the Apptimized process. In order to show you the extent of settings or packaging guidelines requirements we can cover with Apptimized. Just quickly, we've added a big amount of options to customize naming conventions, for instance, because that's always quite important. We can use an own discovery document template with own letterhead, company logo, and these kind of things. For packaging, of course, because that's the most complicated thing, we also have most settings. Again, naming conventions for all the deliverables which are being produced. Install, uninstall script file name. We control a few things regarding the installation context, destination drives, the way how shortcuts are being created for terminal service, for instance, where you would want to make non-advertised shortcuts, for instance. The entire ARP section can be customized, reboot. Shortcuts automation, I was referring to that earlier. We can remove all desktop shortcuts automatically or shortcuts containing a certain text. Many clients want to have dedicated register keys being installed by packages in order to allow their software asset management systems to find installations. You can add those to your packages automatically. Also, active setup is possible to add to the package, custom properties, and so forth. And as said previously, for all the different stages, you can define a list of operating systems that are available to the user. And you can also provide your own custom operating system VMs, which we can then put into Apptimized and make available to your projects. That's it. Thank you for your time. This was Matthias from Revacom showing you Apptimized. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Matthias. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I think you'll agree that Apptimized is an incredibly powerful tool that can be used in an incredibly powerful way. So just to recap, we believe that by implementing Apptimized, which allows you then to move to a world of continuous deployment, application packaging becomes simpler, faster, and cheaper. So all it leaves me now to do is to open the floor up to any questions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those. My contact details are now on the screen if you'd like to note them down, but I will be in touch with all those that have attended and anybody who wasn't able to make it after the event. If you have any further questions or issues you'd like to raise or points you'd like to raise, please do drop me a line at these details. Thank you very much for your time and goodbye.